The hospital room was silent except for the low hum of machines. A man sat on the edge of the bed, his hands trembling, his head tilted forward. His face was pale, hollowed by sleepless nights, his breath uneven. The young doctor pulled on her gloves and stepped closer. She brushed aside strands of his thinning hair and froze. On the crown of his head sat a grotesque lump. What began as a pimple had grown into something monstrous. The skin was stretched until it looked ready to burst, glistening with sweat, swollen to the size of half a fist. It pulsed faintly, as though something inside was alive. A foul-smelling discharge clung to his hair, staining the pillow where he had laid his head. She pressed gently, and beneath the skin her fingers felt something that shouldn't have been there, something hard, rigid, foreign. The man spoke, his voice cracked. "I thought it was just a pimple. I thought it would go away. But it hadn't. It grew larger each week, mocking his stubbornness. He had hidden it under hats, avoided mirrors, shrugged off his wife's concerns. But the throbbing, the dizziness, the late-night headaches that made him stagger to the bathroom in pain, all of it told the truth he refused to hear. Now he sat in this hospital bed, broken by the very thing he ignored. The doctor's steady hands betrayed her mind, racing with possibilities. Cyst, abscess, tumor, or something worse. What she was about to uncover would not only shock her, but would change this man's life forever. His name was Daniel. He was 48, a delivery driver who spent long days weaving through traffic, dropping off packages, and returning home late at night. He wasn't famous. He wasn't powerful. He was ordinary. A husband, a father of two. Daniel lived for simple things. Family dinners, soccer games with his kids in the yard, quiet evenings with his wife on the porch. He was the type of man who never complained, never made a fuss. If his back hurt after work, he rubbed it and kept going. If a cough lingered, he ignored it until it disappeared. That stubborn streak was both his strength and his weakness. To him, rushing to the doctor over a small bump on his head would have been laughable. Real men endured, he believed. Real men didn't worry about pimples. His wife, Ellen, knew better. She saw the way he brushed off pain, the way he forced a smile even when exhaustion weighed him down. She begged him to take better care of himself. But Daniel always waved her off with a chuckle and a kiss on the forehead. That small bump appeared on his scalp one spring afternoon. Barely noticeable, a little itchy, slightly tender. He rubbed it absent-mindedly, then forgot about it. He told himself it would vanish in a week. It didn't. The itch came first, a prickling sensation just above his right ear. When he scratched, his fingers found a raised spot, smooth and round. He dismissed it as nothing. Maybe a pimple, maybe an ingrown hair. He told Ellen and the kids it was fine. He wore his baseball cap on deliveries, never giving it another thought. But in the shower, when hot water struck his scalp, the sting made him wince. At night, he would scratch until the skin grew tender. Weeks passed, and the bump remained. Redder now, swollen, the kind of blemish that demanded attention. At times, it throbbed so hard it woke him from sleep. Still, Daniel refused to worry. He had bills to pay, routes to finish, children to care for. A bump on the head was nothing compared to all that. But bodies don't stay silent forever. The swelling grew until it was impossible to ignore. What once resembled a pimple now bulged like a walnut beneath his scalp. The skin stretched taut, angry, and inflamed. Sometimes, it pulsed with each beat of his heart. His children noticed first. "Dad, what's on your head?" they asked, laughing nervously. Ellen didn't laugh. Her worry deepened every time she saw the swelling peak beneath his cap. Soon the pain grew unbearable. Migraines gripped him without warning. He would bend to tie his shoes and feel the world tilt sideways. During deliveries, the pressure in his skull made him dizzy. Then came the discharge. Sticky, foul-smelling fluid that stained his pillow at night, leaving him ashamed and unsettled. He started sleeping with towels beneath his head, desperate to hide the evidence. Still, he refused help. It wasn't until the bleeding started that everything changed. One morning, Daniel awoke to find his pillow soaked in blood. Not a streak, not a spot, a pool. Ellen gasped as she pressed a towel to his head, her hands trembling, her face pale with fear. He stumbled into the bathroom and looked into the mirror. For the first time, he truly saw himself. His skin was waxy, his eyes dark and sunken, his scalp grotesquely misshapen by the lump. It looked as though it might split open at any second. The sight shattered his stubbornness. He could no longer deny the truth. That morning, Ellen drove him to the hospital. He sat slumped in the passenger seat, hat pulled low, heart hammering with dread. The young doctor examined the swelling, her hands steady but her eyes sharp. She pressed lightly. Beneath the skin, she felt something solid. Not pus, not fluid, something foreign. She ordered scans immediately. The images glowed on the screen, casting an eerie light in the room. What they revealed made her chest tighten. Inside his scalp, buried beneath layers of tissue, was a hardened mass. It had shape, edges, structure. This was no ordinary cyst. Surgery was scheduled without delay. On the operating table, as the surgeon's scalpel cut carefully into the swollen scalp, a thick, foul-smelling fluid spilled out. But deeper inside lay the true horror. A hardened cyst, yes, but lodged within it was something else. A parasite. Its shriveled, lifeless body had been encased in tissue, trapped like a dark secret within his head. Once alive, it had burrowed in and lain dormant, feeding quietly until it began to die. Its decay triggered the swelling, the infection, the misery. The surgical team exchanged shocked glances. Even in medicine, such cases were rare. But how had it gotten there? Tests revealed the parasite belonged to a strain sometimes found in contaminated floodwater. Rare but documented. Daniel thought back to years earlier when storms had flooded part of the city. He had been delivering packages to a warehouse knee-deep in murky water. He remembered cutting his scalp on a jagged edge while unloading boxes. He never thought about it again. The cut, it seemed, was the doorway. The parasite had entered his body that day, quietly waiting. For years it lay dormant, hidden, until now. Investigators soon uncovered other cases in the area. People with unexplained headaches, strange swellings, mysterious fevers. Daniel's nightmare was not an isolated event. Health officials traced the source back to a neglected water treatment facility. Maintenance had been ignored, warnings overlooked, corners cut to save money. Floodwater contaminated by the facility had spread through neighborhoods and workplaces. Daniel's case became the face of the investigation. He wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a voice demanding accountability. His story reached others, urging them to come forward with their own symptoms. The truth was undeniable. Entire communities had been put at risk by negligence. Daniel's quiet fight transformed into a larger battle. For justice, for safety, for the lives of countless others who might never have connected their suffering to the water they had trusted. Though surgery removed the cyst and parasite, Daniel's life was never quite the same. At night, he sometimes woke with phantom throbs where the lump had once grown. He would reach up, half expecting to feel it still there. Doctors assured him it was gone. Yet doubt lingered. What if another parasite remained, hidden, waiting to awaken? Officials warned that contaminated water doesn't disappear overnight. More cases might surface, next month, next year. Families still lived in the same neighborhoods, drank from the same sources, carried the same invisible risks. Daniel's story was not just about one man. It was a warning. The journey from a small bump to a life-threatening discovery changed everything. It taught that bodies whisper before they scream, that ignoring pain never makes it vanish, and that the smallest things sometimes hide the gravest dangers. Daniel's stubbornness nearly cost him his life. Yet his survival turned his suffering into something larger, a call for awareness, for vigilance, for responsibility. What began as a blemish grew into a battle for justice, a reminder that health is fragile and that silence can be deadly. His scar remains, a faint line on his scalp, but behind it lies a story of endurance, awakening, and survival. The lesson is simple. Never dismiss the signals your body sends. The pain you ignore today could become the fight for your life tomorrow.